Hi guys, it's Nana here and you're welcome back to the channel. Now in today's episode, we'll be sharing 5 actionable tips that every salesperson must adopt in order to hit their sales target and become successful in the end. So a couple of years ago when I was done with my first degree, we had the opportunity of working in a multinational insurance company. There were about 20 of us in the team, and I remember clearly the main manager, the managing director, came to the team as a whole and then asked, how many of you are willing to sell? Now, at that point, it was very difficult for me because, in my opinion, I had done nothing sales. I had no experience whatsoever, like trading, a service in exchange for value or, selling the product, a physical product to anyone out there. So I thought, that was all sales was about. But then he called all of us. There were 5 of us. One resigned eventually. But then the 4 of us that opted to, try sales and then see whether or not we'd be successful in that end. Because that was, when we were in uni, nobody really wanted to do sales. We felt like, that was a no-go area for us. So we'd rather do administrative stuff like, underwriting, claims management and bank assurance, retail sale of insurance where you don't have to necessarily go out there to meet new clients, make sales pitches, write proposals, make presentations and all that. And that is what we wanted to do. But sales was a no-go area for anyone. But then when we sat in the office to discuss stuff about our lives and our experiences with him, it got to my turn and then he asked, what has your life really been like? So I shared my exposure as Student Representative Council President. And he said, that was the biggest sale that you ever did. And at that point, I just paused looking at him like that. I'm like, what do you mean? And then he said, selling yourself to people is the single most difficult thing that you can ever do in life. And that is it. Think about it. I just went on there. I had a campaign team. I had campaign promises and manifesto, and a manifesto that are sold out to people, policies that are sold out to people throughout the campaign process. And I didn't even realize that that entire process was a sales process. So I was selling myself to hundreds of thousands of people out there, and I didn't even know. My banners were everywhere, my posters were everywhere. I was selling a product. But this time, the product wasn't a physical product that you usually trade in exchange for money. It was myself. And that really changed my perception about sales and everything that I subsequently went on to do in order to become successful in the sales endeavor. So without further ado, this brings us to the first point, which is product knowledge. Now, product knowledge is the single most important thing that any salesman out there needs to do. It is reported that on a daily basis, Apple salespeople go into a meeting and then engage in a 45-minute sales training on a daily basis before they come out there in the showroom and the exhibition room to sell to, prospective clients and all that. And think about it, product knowledge actually entails you knowing what you're selling. So the details of the product that you're selling to the client, the features, and of course, more importantly, the benefits that the clients would actually gain whenever they go on to purchase that product. So what you have to do is that you need to be abreast with whatever your product actually goes on to do. Because mind you, clients do not like someone that is ignorant insofar as, whatever they are selling, whatever they are proposing is concerned. So several years ago, I had the opportunity of making a presentation with this same managing director that I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. And then it was a sales presentation on workmen's compensation fused with life insurance. So that was a very unique and a very new product that we were just trying to introduce into the insurance market. So we sat in a meeting and then we're just waiting for the country director of the multinational corporation to show up so that we can just pitch, make the sales presentation and then convince them to make the purchase. But a couple of minutes into the meeting with his associate, my boss had a meeting, so he had to go back to the office and it was just left with me to make the presentation. Mind you, to a $7 billion company. I was scared, as you can imagine, because I was very new. I was right from uni. I didn't have the experience of sales and all that, and I was trying it out. But what really helped me was every single week, our bosses pushed us to make a detailed note of everything that we're selling. So for example, if it is motor vehicle insurance that we're proposing to a client, we know what the deductions are. We know what the cover is. We know what limitations there are. We know whatever insurable interest it must qualify in order for us to underwrite that policy successfully. So what really went on is, because I had all these experience and I had that in my note, I was able to make that presentation, and eventually we were able to make the sale, and that resulted in us securing an insurance deal that was worth 6 figures. Secondly, you've got to be passionate. So my boss that I met was, one of the most passionate salespeople that I ever met, and I think I will ever meet in life. He was so passionate to the point that sometimes, even on weekends, for example, maybe it's a Friday, and then our clients get their checks ready on a Saturday, he'd actually phone me and then go to the company to pick the check up. I remember one time we went to this huge factory and then the accountant wasn't in. So we waited there till 9 p.m. and work, mind you, started for us at 9 a.m. and then it ended at 5 p.m. We had to wait 4 extra hours just to secure the check and to deposit the check in a safe in the office before going home. I'm not saying that you've got to go all these extra mile, but if you really want to succeed as a salesperson in sales, then what you really need to consider is you have to be passionate about sales. And passion gets built over time. Someone would say, oh, but I'm even scared of sales. We all have been scared of sales. Even today, it's not easy. Recording a YouTube video is a form of sales process. It's not easy. You don't really get to do it, as in when you wake up, it's easy, or I just record videos and that's all. No, you still have that fear. And then the more and more you practice, the more and more you become perfect. And so in order for you to build the passion, in order to succeed as a salesperson, what you really need to do is that you need to fuel your desire to reach clients. You need to fuel your desire to convince them, and more importantly, sell them everything that you're selling, and then meet your sales target at the end of the month, at the end of the year, if possible. Thirdly, you need to be professional. Professionalism is key when it comes to sales, especially when you're selling something like a service, because people don't see the tangible asset that they are purchasing. They see you. So what you have to do is you need to be professional. You don't have to get emotional very easily. And I remember clearly, when I used to sell insurance, there were people that would go like, oh, but all insurance salespeople are thieves. And they said that, and I understood, and I'll just meet that comment or that objection with a huge smile on my face. And then they're just looking at you with a stern face, waiting to see what your rebuttal would actually be like. But then I tell them, I understand where they're coming from, and I understand their point, because there are several insurance companies out there. There are several brands out there that really do not cherish clients. What they care about is the check coming in at the end of the month. What really people go on to do is that they tend to place all the brands, in one basket. Because I've had a very bad experience with insurance company A, or because I've had a very bad experience with product B, then all of you are like that. There's a hasty generalization. What you need to know is that as a salesperson, you have to get over that. They are not attacking you personally. They are just sharing with you their experience, and that is an opportunity for you to give them the reassurance and then go on to convince them, persuade them to buy whatever it is that you're selling to them. Fourth, you need to be persuasive as a salesperson. And by this, I mean that you need to be able to convince clients in order to purchase from you. Sometimes it might not necessarily be, what you're selling, but also the reassurance, like I've stated earlier, that you would give to them. Because what is the point if they've had any experience in the past that really, makes them very skeptical about purchasing that product or purchasing that service that you're preaching to them? You need to give them the assurance that whatever happens, you will be there to support them and then see them through the entire process. For example, when I was selling insurance, I didn't just sell insurance to people. I went on also upon the occurrence of any unfortunate incident or maybe an accident in the case of a motor vehicle insurance to go on and assist clients with the claims process. I didn't belong to the claims department, but I knew how to get the forms, how to send it to them via email. They fill out everything. Sometimes they don't even have to come to the office. They just email the filled out claims forms to me, and then I'll just deposit it with the claims department and then give them the timeline. And then I also go on to give them, updates on the status of their insurance. So I was going on also to just, try as much as possible and give them the reassurance that, listen, you don't only have to purchase insurance from me. Upon the occurrence of any objections that you've mentioned, I will be there also to hold you through, to assist you through the entire process and then make everything much more easier for you. So that is it. In order for you to be able to persuade people, you need to give them some form of assurance, and that is what you need to know. You need to learn, and you must stick by your word as a salesperson in order for you to become successful. This brings us to the last point, which is persistence. Now, without persistence, I don't think anyone would actually succeed in sales. There are companies that I wrote proposals to, companies that we made, cold callings to, and several people that we reached out to. Sometimes it takes as much as 2 years before they call you finally to purchase something from you. And I don't blame them. Sometimes they go on in life to trust so many brands out there. And then also one of the biggest objections that you would ever face is the objection of brand positioning. Some people have known some brands for 20 years, 30 years, and so it becomes very difficult for you to convince them to change and then come to your brand or to patronize whatever you're proposing to them. And so you need time. You need to consistently give them time, give them space, but then also go on to remind them as and when they need be, and then try to convince them over time to purchase with you. Sometimes it might just be a text, it might just be an email. Stay persistent with sales, because that is what would eventually lead to your success as a salesperson. So there you have it. These are the 5 time-tested tips that you may have to adopt as a salesperson in order for you to hit your sales goals and become successful in your sales endeavor. Thank you.